Today I'm gonna run you through a recipe that is a childhood classic of mine. Whenever we had tacos, burritos, enchiladas, Mum would always do her best to make it more authentic. Bring a little bit of Mexico to Menai, where we grew up in Sydney, and she'd do a cracking little rice dish. And that's what I'm gonna show you guys today. Right, a Mexican style rice dish. I think we're starting in the right place. We've got all the colors of the Mexican flag right here, and we're just gonna throw in a little bit of charred corn that we're gonna fold through at the last minute. It is an absolute cracker. So I'm gonna kick off the corn. All right, so we don't need to put oil in the pan. We're gonna go over the top of the corn, and then we can just roll it on that plate. The plate was purpose built for corn. And then just some salt over the top, and then in we go. It's just starting to sizzle, and that's okay. You don't wanna put it in too hot. What's gonna happen, you'll burn it, and you won't cook the corn through to the cob, which is what we need to do. So just a gentle, there we go, it's starting to pop now. Good. That's what we want. And then bit by bit, we'll just give it a roll, and then just make sure that we're getting some nice even color. You know, a few little burn spots on there is always good. That makes you feel like you put it on the barbecue. All right, so we'll leave that tick away for probably another 4 or 5 minutes. All right, so we've kicked this one off. That's got some serious heat into it. What I'm gonna do, just transfer it into this smaller one over here, and then I can start building the rest of the rice in the big pan. Don't know why I didn't do that in the beginning. All right, so a little bit more oil in, and then we're gonna kick it off. Very simple, very approachable ingredients. We've got 1 onion that's just been diced up, a couple of cloves of garlic, roughly chopped. To be authentic, we've got some finely diced jalapeno. If you don't have jalapeno, if it's that one ingredient that's not available in the house in the afternoon when you're putting this together, just go with some dried chili flakes. It's still gonna give you that little bit of a nudge that you want in a dish like this. But if you don't have it, don't run to the shops, because there are always alternatives. Sometimes when you're cooking with your onion and your garlic, you're gonna hear me say, you just want it to be soft and sweat it down. You want them to be translucent. Not in this. This is a dirty sort of street style dish where you want color, you want character, you want some attitude. So we're gonna push those ingredients just that little bit further than what we normally would. Over the top, we've got about a teaspoon of each, coriander and ground cumin. Now what we're gonna do is introduce the rice. So we're just using some long grain rice. There's about 1.5 cups in there. We're gonna put that in now, very similar to what you would do with a risotto. You wanna kick the rice off in the pan before you put liquid in, and we're just gonna coat that in all of the flavor that we've got in the pan. Leave that in there for a minute or two, just to toast it, and then we can start to introduce the 2 liquids that we're working with today. We've got the crushed tomatoes and the chicken stock. Now we can start to hit that with some of the liquids. Like I said, we've got some crushed tomatoes. Go one at a time, and then we'll move that through. Just trying to maintain warmth at all times, otherwise your rice will cook unevenly. If you do this with a stock straight out of the fridge, you'll shock the pan and the rice will cook unevenly. The inside won't cook at the same rate as the outside will, because it's got to build up that heat again to start cooking itself. So you just want to, when you introduce a liquid, work some heat through it, bring it back up, keep it warm, keep all of the heat in there. So now we can go in with the stock, so it's at room temperature already. That's where you want it to be. About 1.5 cups of the stock in there. And you would have noticed that I haven't added salt in there at this point. It's because the stock that we're using is seasoned. There's salt in that. So we'll wait until the last minute, let that seasoning do its work. When we get to the point where we're towards the end, then we can add a little bit more if we need it. We're just gonna rotate the corn. We've got a couple of spots on there that are starting to blacken up and char. Nothing wrong with that. That's what we want in a dish like this. We've had this one lidded up for about 10 to 15 minutes now, so I'm just gonna take this off and see what we're dealing with. It's looking pretty sharp. The key to a dish like this is you don't want to move it around too much. It's not a risotto where you want to work a starch in it. You want to try to keep it nice and still, and then have it nice and fluffy so it breaks up. Exactly what it's doing right now. So I'm just gonna have a quick taste. It needs a little bit more salt, so I'm just gonna over the top. That should have it pretty much sorted. Now I'm just gonna work that through, and that's breaking up really nicely. That's where we want it. You don't want it to be stodgy. Corn's all done as well. So the easiest way to do that, I find, instead of trying to do the whole lot, just go cut it in half or in thirds, whatever you're comfortable with, and that makes it a lot easier to remove those kernels. All right, here we go. Love a good non-stick pan. And then again, if you want to garnish it with some more jalapeno, some more dried chili flakes, anything like that, A really good base recipe. If you've got some leftover roasted meat, some roasted chicken, any other veg that you want to toss through it, absolutely go for it. There's no rules. So for us, it was charred corn, and then it's up to you guys. Personalize it, play with it, throw that in the middle of the table. You can have it as a side, have it as a dish on its own, bulk it up, stretch it out, whatever you want to do. A Mexican style rice dish from my childhood. I reckon Mum would like that one.